Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be doing a top 5 list for floral fragrances, so stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Now, I am not actually a huge fan of florals, but there are a number of fragrances that I think are good floral fragrances for a man to wear, and some of these I actually enjoy quite a bit. So I'm going to be doing a top 5 list today, talking about 5 fragrances that I think are good florals for men to wear. Now, first on the list is going to be no surprise to anyone. I don't think any floral list could be complete without including Reflection Man. Reflection Man, sometimes compared to Le Male, which smells a little bit like Darlie by Parfums de Marly, in my opinion, in the opening anyways. And this is a white floral fragrance that does kind of have a bit of a bubblegummy vibe to it. It is actually very nice and very classy, and even the newer formulations, which I know some people complain about the performance, actually has very good performance for me. I get a very, very long lasting fragrance that projects and performs quite well and will definitely leave a nice scent trail and have a very nice scent cloud around it. So this is a very nice, classy, professional fragrance for men to wear. You can also wear this one casually. That is the nice thing about it. It's quite versatile, but it's definitely one that's easily worn in office settings or if you have a formal occasion, because it is very classy, very refined fragrance. I do actually kind of like this one. It's grown on me a little bit. I know when I first tried it, I wasn't a big fan of it, as I'm not a huge fan of florals, but this one is done really, really well, and it is definitely worth checking out. Next on the list is a fragrance from Acqua di Parma, and that is Yuzu. Now this, along with some of the other fragrances that were released, are actually fairly decent. Sakura is actually another one from this line that I actually really did enjoy, although I definitely feel that that one is more of a feminine wear. It is definitely a nice floral fragrance that has that Sakura note in it, which adds a little nice dimension. It is a nice fragrance, and if you do like it, of course, check it out. But at least for me, I don't feel that I would wear it because it does feel a little bit more feminine. Yuzu is probably my favorite from that new line, and I do actually like this one. I did manage to pick this up for a good price, and this is one that has the Yuzu note in it, of course, as you might have guessed, which I do really like. So it has this very bitter Yuzu opening. In fact, my only real complaint with this fragrance is that the Yuzu doesn't last long enough. I like that bitter vibe it has in the opening, and that doesn't last long enough, in my opinion, to really, really love this fragrance. However, after that really nice Yuzu opening, this does start to dry down into a more floral, musky fragrance. There's a bit of sweetness there, and it does perform quite well for a fresher fragrance. So I do like this one, and it is good for the spring and the summertime. So of course, if you like Acqua di Parma, if you like florals, this is also a good one to check out that I really haven't heard many people talking about. The next one, I'm actually going to put in a bit of a tie here, and this one focuses, in fact, both of them focus on the note of rose. First one being Atomic Rose, and this is actually quite a nice, powerful rose fragrance, and I think it is very hard to do a rose fragrance that doesn't come across feminine. I will say Atomic Rose to me does come across somewhat feminine, but it is fairly unisex as a fragrance, and that rose is very potent. It has a very nice sweetness. Some people have said it's like Delena, but a little bit more masculine, and actually I was a huge, huge fan of Delena. It smells fantastic. So the fact that this does have a bit of that fruity vibe to it, a bit of that sweetness, and a very nice prominent rose does definitely make it worth mentioning. But the one I actually want to put here that I actually like quite a bit is Noir de Noir by Tom Ford. Now I think this one has been talked about quite a lot, especially a while ago, as this is definitely an older fragrance, but it is one that's actually really, really good. This one grew on me a lot. So the first time I put it on, wasn't too impressed by it. I did like it a little bit, but it wasn't one that I loved. And the thing that I really like about this one is that it's very dark. So Noir de Noir is named well. It is a very dark rose fragrance. And in fact, the rose in it doesn't really come across like rose that you get in other fragrances, even like Atomic Rose or a lot of oud rose combos, like even Halfeti, where the rose is quite sweet. This is a very dark, somewhat jammy rose that doesn't even really, to me, smell too much like rose. If I didn't know so much that it was rose, I wouldn't have thought it was. So it's this very dark, almost tarry-like vibe that's very mysterious, and that's the one thing I really enjoy about this fragrance. It comes across as being a little bit more daring and mysterious, even though ultimately I think it's a fairly mass-appealing fragrance. So while it does seem a little daring, it's at the same time not. So it has that mysterious edge, that sort of, je ne sais quoi, if you want to call it that. And it is really enjoyable. So I do like this one a lot. If you want something with a little bit of a seductive, mysterious edge, this is one that is great to check out. So again, Noir de Noir, nice, mysterious dark rose fragrance. The next one on this list, and I definitely did try to have only one from each house mentioned, and this is definitely a house that I probably could have mentioned a couple, but I'm going to go with Rolling in Love. This was an extremely well received fragrance. This is a by Killian fragrance, of course, and it is actually quite good. Now, I'm not a huge fan of florals, especially heavy white florals, but this is one I can actually see myself wearing, and the bottle, of course, is absolutely gorgeous. But this is one that is a very nice, creamy, somewhat musky, white floral fragrance. And it has this really awesome sort of candied cherry vibe that suddenly gives way to a more creamy, silky, very smooth, and somewhat sweet white floral fragrance. Performance is very good on this fragrance as well, so it does last a long time, does project fairly well. And it is one of those ones that's definitely different, and it's very different from the Killian house. So of course that is always something that I do appreciate, that step in a different direction, as well as being a fragrance that is a little bit different itself. Really do like this one. It's one I might pick up in the future, although there is definitely Killians that I do want to get before that one. For example, Single Malt and Musk Oud. Those are probably the two next on my hit list, although I did hear that in September or so, next fall, there is going to be some more boozy fragrances from Killian, so I'm very excited to check those out. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Rolling in Love, if you like white florals, do yourself a favor, get your nose on this one. Very well composed, very interesting fragrance. Last but not least is actually one I've recently picked up, and that is Winwood by Mancera. I think this is one from the house that's definitely overlooked, one that's really not talked about. And if you've actually smelled He-Man Rocky Mountain by D Squared, which is now discontinued as far as I know, this is a similar vibe. So you have this very heavy violet in this fragrance with a very nice woodiness and a green aroma that really gives you this kind of in the mountains, fresh breeze, fresh air kind of vibe. And the violet note in this fragrance is absolutely fantastic. So this has a really gorgeous violet and green opening that does settle down into a more woody and violet fragrance. And actually, this is one of the first heavy floral fragrances that I found myself actually enjoying. I didn't think, I guess, that I would ever really find a floral that I like enough to buy. And the violet in this fragrance is absolutely amazing. So it is one I think is worth checking out. And as with a lot of Manceras, you can get really good prices on these fragrances if you find them on discounters or on the gray market. So I do think there's a lot of value to be had there. But these are wonderful fragrances, and this is good for the spring, summer. It is quite long lasting, and it does project pretty well as well. So it does have good performance to go with it. So number one on my list, Mancera Winwood. Great floral that is an underrated, untalked about gem from the house of Mancera. Anyways, guys, that is it for this one. What's your favorite floral fragrance for men? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.